All right. Hello, everybody who is watching. We are chatting today with Sara Beth, who works in mindful nutrition, and she's going to share with us some of her top mindful eating tips for people with chronic illness. So, Sara, do you want to just start by telling us a little bit about what you do and what you're working on?
Yeah, for sure. It's so nice to be here today and happy to talk to you guys. I am a registered holistic nutritionist and also now more of an emotional eating coach. So I really do a lot of work with people who struggle with problematic eating. So binge eating, mindless eating, emotional eating, lots of cravings. You're just feeling like they're kind of almost imprisoned by some of the habits and patterns that they have around food. So that's really the work that I do a lot now, and I love it.
Great. And do you want to tell us about any other mindful things? Because I know you focus on mindful nutrition. So I know you do yoga as well. You were at a yoga class this morning. Do you want to tell us?
It was. Thank you for making the time work around that.
Yeah, no problem. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what other kind of mindful or meditation activities you do?
Yeah. So yoga is a huge part of my life. I've been doing yoga for about, 10 years now. I started doing it after I had my second child and dealt with a little bit of postpartum depression, and yoga really helped me sort of discover the world of mindfulness, I guess, and also get back in touch with my body and just really help me get out of a little bit of a dark place I was in then. So I just have been in love ever since. I'm also very passionate about meditation, and people who take my programs and classes and read my stuff sort of know that. I'm a little bit of a broken record with the meditation, but I think it's such an important tool and accessible for everyone and free and something we can do everywhere and all the time. And I think it's just, I'm a big believer in it. And for me too, mindfulness is just it's a moment by moment practice that I try to cultivate. And I don't say that in the sense that I'm mindful all the time. Believe me, I get just as caught up in road rage and frustration with my kids and all that stuff. But it is something that I do try, and I try to be mindful of mindfulness wherever I am. And for me, I also get a great deal of sort of mindful energy and refilling my cup from just being outside. I love being out in nature, and for me, that's a great way. I know that if things are getting a little crazy and I'm feeling a little mindless, out of touch, disconnected, I know that if I go outside and if I touch a tree or feel the sunlight on my skin or see animals, breathe the air, that immediately really brings me back into the moment, into the present. And so that's a big one for me as well.
Yeah, it can be so, I guess it can give you so much perspective if you just take a bit of time in the day to, go outside.
Exactly. It reminds us of how, at least it reminds me of how connected we all are to everything, to the energy of the universe, to each other, to the trees and the plants and the animals, and to something bigger than ourselves, which I think for all of us, whatever that is for you, we take great comfort from that we are all connected and that there's something deeper and bigger sort of flowing through all of us. For me, that gives me a great deal of comfort and peace and groundedness.
Definitely. So, speaking of that connection, where did the nutrition come into it for you? Why did you decide to study nutrition and launch mindful eating?
Yeah, for me, it was, I think, the reason a lot of people come to study nutrition is just a personal struggle. I dealt with irritable bowel syndrome, sort of a chronic condition of my own, and sort of, the typical, I'd tried everything, been to the doctors, read everything, and it was so frustrating, and I felt like nothing worked, and nothing was helping. So I just decided I need to kind of sort of take things into my own hands, and I knew there was some connection with food, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And eventually it got so bad that I ended up in the hospital after sort of a bad bout of it, and I was just done. I was just done with the frustration of it all. I was like, I got to figure this out. So so I went to school and studied holistic nutrition, and really, that's, for me, it immediately became clear sort of the connection between my yoga practice and meditation practice and the nutrition side, and how those fit together. And that was really the answer for me in terms of my IBS and my condition. That was really what unlocked it for me. And then, so that's when I started kind of wanting to share that with others. And ever since I've been working with clients and really focusing on that niche of mindfulness and holistic nutrition, sort of bringing it together, because I feel like one isn't really useful without the other when you're talking about holistic health.
Definitely. And did you find with your IBS that it was kind of easy to figure out what to do once you studied it, or did you have to experiment a lot?
Yeah, I have to, and I still do. What I definitely learned was that and this is something that I take now through my whole practice, whether it's IBS or anything, and we can talk more about this in a minute, but is that it's not about the food. It is, because I'm a nutritionist and that's what I do. So of course I'm, keenly interested in what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies and how we're fueling ourselves and how our bodies assimilate those nutrients. But that is really only one part of the puzzle, and I would argue actually a smaller part than all of the other things, all of the stress and the anxiety and the feeling disconnected and the feeling unfulfilled and loneliness and sadness and all of the aspects of what it means to be human. I learned and realized for myself what a profound impact those things have on our physical bodies. Mm-hmm. So, with something like IBS, you can eat the perfect diet, whatever that is for you. Take out, get rid of all the foods that you're intolerant to, or paleo, or macrobiotic, or whatever it is you're going to try, juice cleanse. And for whatever, different things work for different people on a molecular level in terms of food. But if you don't take care of that other piece, the stuff that's going on up here, right? If you don't deal with the stress and the anxiety and all the other things that are going on, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because your body is still going to react to those thoughts and feelings. Mm-hmm. And I have found that a mindful practice, integrating a lot of different aspects of mindful eating and meditation, all of those things, made a huge difference for me, and I've seen it make a huge difference for a lot of other people. So I think that piece often gets missed when we're talking about conditions like IBS, because we're so focused on the food, right? What should I eat? What should I not eat? Am I allergic to this? Am I intolerant to that? But I ate that yesterday and it was okay, but sometimes I can eat this. And I know, I've been there. And that is important to be aware of all that stuff. You have to do that research and that work as well. But if you're ignoring the other piece, like the piece up here, I don't know that you're ever really going to find relief long term. That's been my experience anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more, just like what exactly is mindful eating? How does it help with all that stuff you were just talking about?
Yeah. So really simply, mindful eating to me is just really being present and aware of what's going on when you're eating. So we live in a world these days where we're sort of chronically multitasking, right? We're always doing other things. We're rushing. We're stressed. We're busy. And we tend to eat that way as well. We tend to eat on the run, eat in the car. We're flipping through our phones while we're eating, watching TV while we're eating, right? We're trying to get ready for work while we're eating. We don't pay attention. We're completely disengaged from what's happening in our bodies as we're going through the process of eating. And this is problematic for a couple of reasons. One is that your body just can't digest food properly when you're doing that. You're not to get too sort of like geek out here, but your nervous system has the sympathetic side of your nervous system and the parasympathetic side. The sympathetic side is when you're engaged, you're got fight or flight, you're busy, your heart's pumping, you're focused on what's going on outside because there's stress and there's stuff that you have to be focused on. And then there's a parasympathetic side, which is also known as rest and digest. That's when you're relaxed, you're calm. That's the time when your body will put attention and energy towards the process of digestion. And it won't do one at the other time. You know what I mean? Like if you're in fight or flight, if you're in the sympathetic, stress, rushing around, driving, even just flipping through social media is mentally stressful. To your brain and your body, that is not the time to digest food. So it will not release energy to the parts of your body like your stomach and your pancreas and all of your liver and all the organs that are required for digestion. It just will not engage those organs properly because in its mind, there are other things, there's stress that we need to focus on. So it triages that way. So we must stop and relax and sit down and breathe and focus on the act of eating in order to initiate all of those digestive processes, to get those digestive juices flowing and get the stomach working and get all that stuff happening. Otherwise, you're just shoving food into a body that is not ready to digest it. So that's a big part of it. And also just being aware of just listening, tuning in to the cues from your body. When we're multitasking while we're eating and doing all those other things, we're not listening to when we're full. So we tend to chronically overeat when we're mindless about our eating, because we eat way past the subtle signal from our body about when we're done. And And also it leads to things like food intolerances and issues like that. It exacerbates them because, again, you're not really clear. You're not tuning in to the signals from your body that, oh, this food isn't working for me. Even if it's just that day, some people have intolerances that, you might be intolerant to a food only when you can eat it sometimes, but not others. Some people feel that way. Mm-hmm. And often that's because, if you're calm and relaxed, your body can handle that food. But if you're stressed and worked up, your body's like, no, can't do it. So you can only know that if you're quiet and you're present and you're tuned in and you're listening. And that's mindful eating to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people may be having trouble with digesting foods and all that, and they're not even aware of it.
Exactly. And so they're dealing with things like bloating and heartburn, or even just, feeling really tired after a meal, like you need to have a nap. Those are all symptoms of not digesting food properly. And mindless eating is a big contributor to that, for sure.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah.
So if we talk a little bit about chronic illness, in particular like chronic pain or fatigue or Lyme disease, how can mindful eating specifically help someone who's struggling with those things?
Yeah, well, when we talk about, the other piece of sort of what I do, like emotional eating, which is sort of the opposite of mindful eating, that's what, this is when we're trying to use food to escape unpleasant feelings, whether they be physical or emotional, right? Physical or mental. We don't feel good, and we know that eating cookies makes us feel good. So it's, basically that's what it comes down to. And so for people that struggle with chronic illness, and especially chronic pain, which is very difficult, but it's easy to fall into a pattern where you start using food to avoid or numb or deal with those kinds of issues, because it does give you an immediate sort of gratification, an immediate sets off all those dopamine receptors in your brain, makes you feel good, but it doesn't help long term, right? Food is not a solution for chronic illness or chronic pain. It just, very temporarily gives you a little bit of a good feeling. The problem when you fall into that, though, is that you end up, what we're talking about? Oh, right, helping people with chronic illness and pain, and why mindful eating is really helpful for that. Yeah, basically because of that, because it's hard for all of us. It's hard for anybody, to deal with the stresses of life and the uncomfortable feelings that come up, whether they're sort of either just fatigue or boredom or feeling lonely or worried, or we tend to turn to food for all of those things. It's even worse, though, if you're dealing with something like a chronic illness or chronic pain where, oh my gosh, like you really are struggling with a lot of stuff. But you do still have to be aware of the fact that food isn't gonna fix it. And so more than ever, I think it's important to be mindful about what's really going on. What are the things you're feeling? What are some more positive ways that you can, help yourself through that pain, whether it's, getting more rest or doing other self-care sort of practices that give you some relief and make you feel better. To turn to food all the time is, it's not serving you. It's not healthy. It's not helping you. It's not even really addressing the symptoms, other than, maybe for a few minutes you get a temporary boost of relief. But mindful eating can help you avoid going down that path where you start to rely on sort of junky foods to give you some relief from those unpleasant feelings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people with those chronic illnesses have a lot of food intolerances.
Yeah,
so
right.
It could help, I suppose, help them manage those or understand those better.
Yeah, and exactly, because like I said before, listening is really a big part. Listening to your body is really a big part of mindful eating. Again, getting quiet, getting present. I tell people, the basics of mindful eating, like just little things like sitting down when you're eating, right? Not multitasking. Don't do anything except eat, right? Sit at a table and just eat. Just focus on the food. And when you do that, and you slow down and you chew more, just these little things, right? They seem little, but they're actually quite challenging for a lot of people, and they can, and if you work on them enough, they can have a profound effect on your body and your relationship with food. And you mentioned food intolerances, and exactly when we're dealing with that stuff, and again, having dealt with IBS and trying to figure out that whole puzzle of like, what is it, what's triggering me, what's setting it off, you can only solve that riddle if you are quiet and tune in and really listen to your body, because your body sends subtle signals, right? And if you're not listening to like, oh, my energy dips when I have that, or oh, I have a headache now because I ate that, or my joints are a little sore, or I feel kind of irritable. These are like the subtle signals that are often related to food intolerances that, again, if you're running around and you're driving while you're eating and flipping through your phone and watching TV, and you're not going to hear them. And so it's not until you have a really bad reaction that you're like, oh my gosh, like there's something going on here. But there was probably signals a lot earlier. And if you're quiet and you listen and you focus and you pay attention and are mindful about your eating, you can start to piece together those breadcrumbs a little bit more and see the bigger picture maybe earlier on and really sort of help yourself solve that puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, that's really helpful, I think, to think
Good.
about.
Good.
Yeah. So another problem that I think is very common with people in chronic pain and fatigue is weight gain, which can be a result of being on certain medications or just because they're exhausted all the time. It's their activity levels can drop. I mean, I used to be a competitive swimmer, and then when I got sick, obviously I couldn't do that anymore. Yeah. So it was just, a huge difference. Do you have any advice on people trying to manage their weight?
Yeah, well, mindful eating is incredibly important with weight issues. Again, because when we eat mindlessly, when we're not paying attention, we constantly overeat, right? Because again, the signals that your body's sending about when you're done are very subtle. A lot of people have heard sort of the idea that, you know, you're full, like we don't get the message that you're full until 20 minutes or something after you're full. Yeah. And so when you're just eating and we're eating too fast and we're not paying attention and we're just shoving food in our mouth, you know, usually we don't stop until the food's gone or we feel uncomfortably full, right? That's usually, if people are eating mindlessly, those are the two reasons they stop, right? The food's gone or they feel like they're going to like, oh my God, I ate so much. And that you were satisfied way, way before, right? So, so especially again, like you say, people who are not able to really move a lot because of physical limitations, or people who are on medications that are going to, you know, compromise some of their ability to lose weight or manage their weight, they need to be extra, you know, tuned in and extra mindful about those signals. Like you really need to work with your body. There's no room for error there because you're already kind of behind the eight ball a little bit. So important to, again, like sit down, slow down, no multitasking, pay attention to the eating and really listen. Like literally I tell my clients, like with every bite, assess, okay, am I satisfied now? Not uncomfortably full. Uncomfortably full means you've gone too far, right? And that's where we get into weight gain problems. Just satisfied, like you're not hungry anymore. That's enough. That's your body telling you that we're good now and you can stop eating. And if that means stop eating, you know, when there's your plate's still half full, that's fine. Put it in the fridge. That's dinner or lunch tomorrow or whatever, right? So I think again, for people who are struggling with that, who have other reasons why they're again not, you know, why they're losing weight is difficult. Mindful eating is so important because it's going to give you a little bit more power, a little bit more control. Put you back in the driver's seat a little bit in terms of your relationship with food and how much you're taking in, because your body will tell you, you know, I mean, people worry about counting calories and there's all kinds of programs out there at points and all that stuff. And that's great. And they're all kind of doing the same thing. But if you get good at, if you practice mindful eating, your body will tell you when it's had enough. It's very good at that. It knows, and it's very good at telling you. It's just we have lost the ability to listen. We don't speak the same language anymore because we haven't been paying attention. We haven't been communicating. So mindful eating is a practice, just like yoga, and it takes time. And for a lot of people, it's difficult at the beginning because, again, we haven't been doing it for so long. People are like, I don't know what my body's saying. I don't know when I'm done. But you just keep practicing. Just keep trying it. And over time, you will start to speak your body's language again. And you will start to be able to understand those signals and hear them a lot sooner. And then, you know, you're so powerful in terms of your ability to have a good relationship with food that's really going to serve you.
Yeah, great. Amazing.
Good.
Last question. So if
sure.
a kid walked up to you on the street and you only had 2 minutes to give him your best tip, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I don't know if a kid would understand this, but this is my tip for everybody. If I could leave everybody with one thing, it would be to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay. And I say that because emotional eating, mindless eating, binge eating, all of these things, they all at their root are our attempt to avoid unpleasant feelings. right? Our attempt to numb ourselves to them, to avoid them. And whether that be physical unpleasant feelings or emotional unpleasant feelings like stress or even just boredom or loneliness or fear or anxiety or feeling unappreciated or whatever it is, all of those negative food habits started, now, they become patterns and habits that we just do almost, mindlessly, but they start at their root. They all come from an attempt to avoid unpleasant and uncomfortable feelings. And part of mindfulness as a larger practice, even outside of mindful eating, is about being able to sit with those feelings. And I don't mean we wallow in them and we're just like, woe is me, or if you're in physical pain that you somehow sort of just sit and feel painful all the time. I just mean that you're able to just recognize the feeling and just allow it a little bit instead of the constant attempt to bolt away from it. Like, oh my God, I don't feel good. Okay, brownies make me feel good, right? Because that's what we do. And for some people, it's shopping or it's gambling or it's drugs or whatever, right? These are all at their root the attempt to avoid uncomfortable feelings. So if you can get to a place, and this, can take a lifetime, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is easy. If this was easy, we wouldn't have any of these issues in our society. Yeah. But really at the core, it's all about being able to sit with those feelings and know that they're just feelings, know that they're just energy, know that you're stronger than you think you are in terms of your ability to handle them, and just let them come, because they will come and they will go, just like a wave. The stress, the anxiety, the fear, the whatever, it's not going to stay forever. It'll ebb and it'll flow. And again, I know that's harder even for people that are dealing with like chronic pain. I mean, that's super difficult, but at the same time, it's still the same thing, right? It's an ability to recognize what's happening, to allow it a little bit, to soften into it, instead of just trying to avoid and just trying to get away from it, because that's where all of these things, all of these sort of negative behaviors crop up from. So if I could impart one piece of wisdom to the child or to everybody, it would be that, just to kind of be okay with feeling the feelings, right? Because that's really a superpower. If you can do that, you're free, right? Then you don't have to turn to food or shopping or gambling or drugs or whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, whatever it is you use to avoid unpleasant feelings. You don't need that stuff anymore. And you have so much power and so much freedom to just, to run your life the way you want it to be. So I think that's the superpower at the end of the day. That's what I would tell people.
Yeah, great. That's such great advice. It's yeah, I mean, once you stop, I guess, seeing your thoughts and your feelings as facts, it becomes much easier to think,
exactly,
I don't need that whole chocolate bar. That craving will go away soon.
Exactly. Or ask yourself, what are you hoping that chocolate bar will do for you, right?
Yeah.
That's really because again, it's like, well, it'll make me feel happy because I feel sad, or it'll make me feel loved because I feel really lonely, or it'll give me something to do because I'm super bored, right? What are you hoping that chocolate bar is going to do? And then exactly sort of work backwards, follow those breadcrumbs backwards in terms of, so what is that feeling? What is that thought? What's going on there? I'm always trying to tell my clients to get curious, follow those breadcrumbs, try to figure out, excavate under there, like what's the, every feeling comes from a thought. So if you're feeling stressed, what is the thought behind that? What is going on there? And then challenge that thought. Like, is that really true? Because, like you're just saying, exactly, often we believe that our thoughts are true. And then we have feelings based on that. And so, you have a thought, you have a feeling, and then you have an action from that. And then you have a result from that, right? Thought, feeling, action, result. And we don't like the result. So we got to go backwards, right? We got to figure out, okay, what was the action? I'm gaining weight. Don't like that. What's the action? I'm eating too many cookies. Okay, what's the feeling that makes me eat too many cookies? Well, I feel stressed. Okay, what's the thought that's making me feel stressed, right? Well, I think I might get fired at work or whatever it is, right? And then work on that root cause. So that's really the work, kind of going backwards like that, and exactly kind of digging up those thoughts, because all of those actions and behaviors that we don't like are coming from thoughts and feelings. And you got to get curious about that stuff and figure out what's really going on there.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us. Where can people go if they want to learn more or they want to try one of your programs?
Sure. The best thing to do, I would encourage everyone, if you're interested in mindful eating, is I run a 10-day mindful eating challenge. It's totally free. It's a video challenge. So each day you get a little email from me with a little video that gives you just one little mindful eating exercise that you can try that day. Like we talked about today, one day is just sitting down, or not multitasking. Each day you get to try a little thing, and just to kind of, dip your toe in the water and figure out more learn more about what mindful eating is about and how you can really implement it in your life. And you can sign up for that by going to sarabethnutrition.com/challenge. So sarabethnutrition.com/challenge. And it's totally free. You can sign up, start today, whenever you want. And that's probably the best way to learn more about me and more about mindful eating.
Great, yeah, I'll put that link in the blog post. And I did the challenge. I recommend everyone to do it. It was really good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Good. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I really, really had a great time.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.